All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Friends, this is a lecture on the 12 powers within you. Sometimes they're referred to as the 12 signs of the zodiac, the 12 sons of Jacob, the 12 months of the year, the 12 hours in the day, the 12 powers of Hercules, the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 gates of heavenly Jerusalem, the 12 pillars of the temple of Heliopolis, the 12 stars of Janus, the 12 shields of Mars, the 12 mansions of the moon, and the 12 apostles symbolize and portray the 12 powers of man, or the elements of consciousness. The zodiac means the holy belt of animals within you. In other words, infinity, or the 12 powers. These powers must be disciplined and purified before you become illumined, before you become the God-man walking the earth. The 12 sons of Jacob represent the 12 disciples also. Their names and meanings are referred to in Genesis as Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and so on. In Matthew, they're called Andrew, Peter, James, John. They mean the same thing. It is our mission and purpose in life to discipline these faculties so that a godlike man will appear on earth. Then, like Job, we can say, "Yet in my flesh shall I see God." Job too asked this question, "Where wast thou when I laid the foundation of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened, or who had laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together, and the sons of God shouted for joy." This is not a question asked of God by Job, but it is really a question asked by man of his higher self. We have forgotten who we are, and we are trying to remember. Original sin has nothing to do with the physical sex act. It is man believing in the wisdom of the world and the opinions of men, and using his intellect destructively. Original sin simply means that man has forgotten his divine origin and accepts the opinions of men as the truth. Consequently, he errs, because he does not know that his own I amness is the Lord God Almighty. He dwells therefore in the land of many gods and the belief in many powers. The man who loves truth and practices the presence of God is like a magnetized piece of steel. The man who's asleep to God is like a demagnetized piece of steel. The magnetic current is there, but it is asleep within him. When we dwell in the presence of God, the electronic and atomic structure of our body reforms and vibrates accordingly. Canst thou bring forth Mazareth in the season, or canst thou guide Arcturus with his son? When you look up the concordance for the word Maastricht, you find it's the 12 powers of the zodiac which is within yourself. If we call our disciples forth and fully discipline them by prayer, by meditation and mystic visioning, we can answer all these questions propounded in that 38th chapter of Job. When man is completely purified consciously and subconsciously, the distillate brought forth is the illumined man, called the God consciousness, or cosmic consciousness. Let each one determine for himself if he's calling forth these faculties. Andrew, or Reuben, in Genesis called Reuben, which means to behold the sun. The sun means the presence of God in you. Andrew is perception, perceiving the presence of God within you, or the truth of being. Andrew, therefore, means spiritual perception, is the first faculty of man. Spiritual seeing means understanding, illumination, comprehension. Just like you understand the answer to an algebraic equation, you say, "I see." This is not three-dimensional seeing, but it is seeing the truth about the outer fact. If you put a stick in a pond or a lake or a river, it seems to be bent. It isn't. It's an optical illusion. If you saw, for example, if you saw the two tracks in a railroad, they seem to come together. They don't. They're parallel. Therefore, that would be seeing the truth about the thing. The spiritual person sees the law of cause and effect operating everywhere, and he knows there is a subjective pattern behind all manifestation in his body and affairs. He knows the realization of his desire is the truth that sets him free. When you begin to see spiritually, you see peace where discord is, love where hatred is, joy where sadness is, light where darkness is, and life where so-called death is. You see the presence of God where confusion is. We look at the atmosphere and we say that there is nothing there, yet it is teeming with life. We look into the heavens and we see stars, But when we look through a telescope, we see countless stars not discerned by the naked eye. Which is right, the telescope or the eye? Many think the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, but spiritual seeing or understanding knows that this is untrue. If someone is sick in your family, how do you see them? If you see them unwell, you're not disciplining Andrew. Your spiritual perception or knowing must be perfect vision of health and happiness. If your mother is sick, see her home. She's happy, joyous, and free, bubbling over with enthusiasm. You're seeing the truth about her. Do you resist, resent, or fight conditions in your home or office? If you do, you're not calling Andrew to discipleship. If you detach yourself from the problem and focus on the solution or the way out, realizing an almighty power is backing you up, you're on the way to mastering this power. Peter is the second disciple or faculty of the mind. All these faculties, remember, are within you. And the zodiac is within you. 12 sons of Jacob are within you. Peter symbolizes the rock of truth and immutable conviction of good. Peter is the faculty of mind that realizes that God indwells him, walks and talks in him. Peter is the type of mind that knows that the I am within you is God and there is no other God. Peter is faithful to the end. That is, you're faithful every step of the way, knowing omnipotence is moving on your behalf, and that none can stay its hand and say unto it, what doest thou? Do you say to your ideal or desire, murmuring in your heart, that I'm too old, I do not have enough money, I do not know the right people? Do you say, for example, that due to conditions, inflation, the present administration, events, or circumstances, it is impossible for me to realize my objective? If this is so, you're not disciplining Peter, but you're actually robbing yourself of the joy of experiencing your ideal. The faculty of faith, called Peter, knows no obstacles and recognizes no master or lord except his own I am, for I am the Lord, that is my name. My glory you shall not give to another, neither shall you give my praise. Do you pray for a little while, then give up and say, I tried it, but it does not work? If you do, you must begin now to call Peter to discipleship, and you will realize the cherished desire of your heart. Peter is faith every step of the way, faith in the creative laws of life, faith in the goodness of God in the land of the living, faith in the great truth that you know your own thought is created, what you feel you attract and what you imagine you become. We're not talking about faith in creeds or dogmas of tradition. Peter, you're told, denied his Lord 3 times and said, when the cock crows the 3rd time, you will deny me, meaning that you will deny any man as your master. You will give no allegiance to any church or any man on the face of the earth. But you'll recognize no man as master. You'll recognize God as master. 3, the cock crowing means symbol of dawn, of birth, or light. It also is a symbol of victory, symbol of triumph, symbol of conviction. 3 is always conviction. So you're absolutely convinced that I am is the Lord within you, and there is no other Lord. Therefore you'll give no allegiance to any man, or any institution, or any creed or dogma. But your total allegiance will be to Peter, not to Peter, but to the God presence within you. And you'll know no other God. All right. Where is your faith? Is your faith in the infinite intelligence within you, the supreme power? If so, you are calling Peter to discipleship. James is the righteous judge. My judgment, he said, was as a robe and a diadem. This means when we begin to discipline the faculty called James, we decree wholeness, completeness, and perfection. Our judgment, meaning our conviction, is as a robe based on the truth, and the diadem, beauty and perfection. We ask ourselves, how is it in God in heaven? All is bliss, harmony, peace, joy, abundance, security, right action. For that's the infinite spirit within you, where all is bliss. Then your verdict is based upon harmony, health, and peace. The judgment, with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. The decision or the conclusion you come to about any person, whatever that thought is in your mind, you're creating it in your own mind, in your own body and circumstance. That's why you don't judge. For with what judgment you judge, you are judged. In other words, you create these in your own mind because you're thinking it and feeling it. Do you now condemn, criticize, or dwell on the shortcomings of others? If this is true, you're not calling James to discipleship, but you're actually building these negative qualities within yourself. We fulfill that which we condemn. We become what we condemn. Look around and you will see ample evidence of this. Are you incapable of hearing unpleasant things about another? Do you hear and realize only the good for the other? The student of truth, disciplining James, never gossips, criticizes, condemns, or vilifies, or finds fault with people. If he hears gossip and it is true, the student rejects it mentally and never breathes a word of it. The Bible says to imagine evil against the other is to lie. Begin to call this faculty to discipleship. So James is the righteous judge, you see. Right thinking, right feeling, based upon universal laws and principles, based upon the eternal truth. When there is no opinion, there is no suffering. Where there is no judgment, there is no pain. If the cucumber is bitter, do not eat it. If there are briars or brambles on the road, avoid them. Your judgment is your own conclusion in your mind, and the measure you meet shall be measured unto you again. Whatever you send out comes back to you. If you send out resentment, antagonism, hostility, you're thinking it and feeling it, and you're building poison pockets in your own subconscious mind, and you're creating havoc in your own life. Therefore, you are selfish, really, when you bless the other and see the presence of God in the other and call it forth, because you're blessing yourself. John is the embodiment of love. Love frees, love gives, is the Spirit of God. Love has neither height nor depth, neither length nor breadth. It neither comes nor goes, and it fills all space, and the ancients called it love. They said also that the world was framed on the shoulders of love. When you love a woman, for example, you don't do anything unloving. And love is kind, it vaunteth not itself, it's not puffed up. Love is not possessiveness. Love is not jealousy. Love is not resentment. Love is trust. When you looked into your mother's eyes, you saw love there. You trusted there. Do you trust your wife and your husband? Are you seeing the God in them? If you love your wife, you'll love to see her as she ought to be, happy, joyous, and free. If you love your husband, you'll love to see him successful, happy, joyous, illumined, inspired. You'll love to see all the qualities of God resurrected within him. You'll pray for him. And likewise, you pray for your wife. You identify with God in the other, and you exalt the God presence in the other. That's loving the other. We know that all things work together for good to them that love God. Love God means give your allegiance, loyalty, devotion to the one presence and the one power, the living Spirit within you. The minute you give allegiance to sticks or stones, or any created thing, or you put some man on a pedestal, or you worship the stars or the sun or the moon, or any created thing, that moment you cease to love God because you're no longer loyal to the one presence and power, for love is loyalty. I am God, and there is no God beside me, and from the rising of the sun to the setting of the same, there is none else. Therefore you do not give power to any created thing. The man who loves God does not give power to the phenomenalistic world. He does not give power to a created thing. He gives power to the Creator. All right, are you giving all allegiance, devotion, and loyalty and recognition to the one presence, the living Spirit within you? Are you giving power to others to disturb you? Are you giving power to the weather? If someone sneezes, do you give power to the germs or something? If so, you're not loving John, or you're not loving that particular faculty within you. God and good, you see, are identical and synonymous in all sacred scriptures. When we fall in love with these qualities and attributes, such as honesty, integrity, success, peace, forbearance, and justice, when we love truth for truth's sake, we are loving God our good, for these words are synonymous. Are you afraid of the future? Are you worried about your family, friends, or business? In short, are you unhappy? If you are, you can rest assured you're not loving God or the good. When you busy your mind with the principles of harmony, right action, beauty, love, peace, goodwill, then these ideas will sink into your subconscious mind, and the subconscious will bring these qualities forth on the screen of space. For whatever is impressed in your subconscious mind comes forth as form, function, experience, and event. If you are fearful, worried, and afraid there's not enough to go around, you're emotionally attached to limitation. That which I fear most has come upon me. Are you afraid of failure? If you have this fear, you will bring about failure. Do we hold a grudge against any living being? If so, we're not calling John to discipleship, for John is love. If this is true, we're not controlling John, we're not calling that faculty to discipleship, because when we discipline these faculties, they will work wonders in our lives. They will become our servants. But if they're undisciplined, we're like an unruly mob. In order to bring John to discipleship, you must forgive the other. You must forgive yourself for harboring negative, destructive thoughts. Otherwise, there is no love in our hearts. Love the other by rejoicing that the person you say wronged you or cheated you. Rejoice that he's living joyously and happily, that the light of God is shining. Claim that the law of God is working for him, through him, and all around him, and that peace fills his mind, body, and affairs. Radiate love, peace, and goodwill to him. Wish for him all the blessings of life. And when you do that, you realize then love is the fulfilling of the law, for love is goodwill. It's an outreaching of the heart. You have to love the other. You don't have to like him. You don't have to invite him into your home, associate with him, but you do have to love him in the sense that you wish for him health, happiness, and peace, and all the blessings of life. That's very simple. When you do that, you're selfish too, because you're blessing yourself, because you're thinking of these things, and you're meditating on them, and you're creating these qualities in your own mind, body, and circumstance. Can you rejoice in hearing good news about the so-called enemy? If you cannot, you're not in charge of this faculty. If you have failed to embody your ideal, you're not disciplining John, for John is emotional attachment. You know, you can fall in love with music, harmony, electronics. Einstein said he fell in love with the principle of mathematics. It revealed all his secrets to him. And Edison fell in love with the principle of electricity. It revealed countless inventions to him. He said he picked them up out of the air. Out of the air means from the spirit within him. Remember now, love frees, love gives, is the Spirit of God. Love is not emotional blackmail, you know. And if you're clocking your husband when he comes home with your wife, there's no love in that home. That's all right in a factory where you clock in at 9 o'clock in the morning. But that doesn't belong in any home where love reigns supreme. And there is no love without discipline, no discipline without love. So if you love your children, you'll discipline them. And you'll see that they conform to the golden rule in the law of love. For there is no love without discipline. Actually, there's no love without wisdom either. Wisdom is an awareness of the presence and power of God, where you bring forth these great eternal truths of God in your mind, in your body, and in your circumstance. Philip means, metaphysically, a lover of horses. A trainer of horses is firm but kind. He does not beat the horse, yet he lets the horse know that he is master. The trainer is persistent. He has that quality which so many people lack, that is, stick-to-itiveness, determination, persevering to the end. He who perseveres to the end shall be saved, meaning the solution shall come to the man who steadfastly gives his attention, devotion, and loyalty to his idea, his dream, his aspiration. He refuses to take no for an answer. A trainer of a horse, you see, is disciplined. He's firm, as I said, but kind. He throws the horse down, ties his legs with a rope. He talks to the horse, and he lets the horse know that he's the master. He says to the horse, you'll obey me, I'm going to ride you, you're going to become docile and calm, you're going to become my servant. You see, the horse is subjective, and the subjective mind is subject to the conscious mind. The conscious mind controls the subconscious. This is why man has dominion over animals. This is why he can For example, hypnotize tigers. And the tigers are all hypnotized, and then the girls go into the cage, and everybody wonders. It's because the tigers are all in a subjective state, they're in a trance state, because the trainer hypnotized them and said, you'll obey, you're relaxed, you're at ease, and so on. So after a while, the horse realizes that man is his master, because he can throw him down, tie him up, and eventually the horse says, you know, that man is my master. Then the man jumps on his back, and docilely, in a docile way, he drives the horse down the road. The same thing applies to all animals. This is why man has control. This is why he can train a tiger, or a lion, or a wolf, and so on, to do tricks, because the subjective is amenable to suggestion. Philip, therefore, is the faculty of mind within us that enables us to use the power we have through love. Thus we conquer any situation. At a rodeo, or rodeo some people call it, you see a horse which is unbridled and untamed. No one can stay on him longer than a few seconds. This is the way with many people. They contemplate a new idea. They become enthused about it. A delightful mood is engendered. However, someone may sway them, or they may hear some unpleasant news which throw them off the horse. For example, a girl was contemplating a beautiful trip to Italy. She had planned to visit some relatives near Rome. She told some of her girlfriends and others about it, and they said, oh, don't go to Italy, they hate Americans there, the students are burning the flag and all this sort of thing, the food is terrible, and the hotels, they hate you, and the money situation is very bad, and all this sort of thing. She listened to all this talk and cancelled the trip. You know, she listened to these girls saying how awful conditions were, that there was no possibility of swimming there, the water was polluted, and the prices were outrageous, and all. Later, some of her friends went to Italy, and they had the time of their life. Since she had contemplated, you see, a delightful trip, undoubtedly she would have had a wonderful trip. She lived in the joyous expectancy of it, as within, so without. A wonderful trip was in store for her. But she permitted the negative suggestions of others to throw her off the lovely horse that she was riding. Let us ride the mood to Jerusalem, which means let us sustain it, and we will reach the city of peace within ourselves. In other words, it is the sustained mood that creates. You have to be faithful every step of the way to the end. For example, a trainer of horses, he's an expert. He's teaching others how to drive the horse, how to ride the horse too. And suddenly he's thrown by a particular horse. What does he do? He doesn't say, why did this happen to me? What's wrong with me? I must be losing my grip. Not at all. He jumps on the back of the horse as fast as he can, taps it gently, and off he goes. You know, he knows very well that if he began to analyze himself, say, what's wrong with me? I'm losing my grip. I must be getting nervous or old or something. Why did this happen to me? He'd become very, very nervous, irritable, and upset, and the horse would pick it up. He'd lose his cool, so to speak. He'd lose his balance, equilibrium, and serenity. You see, he's too smart for that. He doesn't spend one moment in regret, but right back on the horse. Is that what you do? If so, you are disciplining Philip. Can you be swayed or made to change your mind? Can negative suggestions, ridicule, and criticisms of others throw you off the horse? If this is true, you're not disciplining Philip. Does the death of one of your dear ones cause you to feel despondent and gloomy? Or do you rejoice in their new birthday? If you feel dejected and gloomy, you're not calling Philip to discipleship. But if you rejoice in their birthday, you are. Bartholomew means, according to the concordance, son of the furrow, or son of the plough, that is, prepared for seed. Metaphysically, it represents imagination. Imagination separates man from man, the beacon light in the world of darkness. Scientists, engineers, and astrophysicists, government and art and science are all looking for men with imagination. The whole world says it can't be done. The man with imagination says it is done. This faculty of the imagination has the power to cast every idea that man can conceive onto the screen of space in substance and form. The disciplined imagination, the furrowed land or son of the furrowed, is capable of picturing only lovely states and delightful moods. Imagination and faith are the two pillars, Jachin and Boaz, that lead to the Holy of Holies within yourself. We call Bartholomew to discipleship when we imagine the reality of the fulfilled desire. Whatever you imagine and feel to be true, your subconscious will accept and bring it to pass as form, function, experience, and events. If you are told of some evil prediction, it frightens you, and you begin to imagine and conjure evil. You have not called forth this power. Do not imagine evil for another or for yourself. Do you imagine that your son will fail in his examination, or that something bad will happen to members of your family? If you have these negative patterns, you're failing to call this great faculty to discipleship. For imagination is the workshop of God. Imagine what is lovely, beautiful, and of good report. Imagine you're a tremendous success. Imagine you now are doing what you love to do, divinely happy and divinely prosperous. The great singer, imagine she's before a wonderful audience, and that the majestic cadences of God are coming forth through her. She imagines loved ones congratulating her. She sees the audience, and she gets the thrill and the joy of seeing a light in their eye, and of listening to the applause and all that. She does all that in her mind, and it sinks into the subconscious mind. And then the nature of the subconscious is compulsion. She's compelled to become the great singer, or the great dancer, as the case may be. Yes, imagine what is lovely and of good report. Your little boy perhaps is at school. What do you imagine about him? Do you think the truck has run over him? Or that he's fallen in the pond, or he's going to get sick, or the flu or something? No. You realize where he is, God is. The love of God surrounds him and folds him and enwraps him. You're the mother, let us say, and you close your eyes during the day, and the little boy comes home, and he tells you, Mother, the teacher praised me today. Look at the wonderful marks I received. You're imagining what is lovely and of good report, and that's exactly what the boy will do, because you're calling things that be not as though they were, and the unseen becomes seen. Because what you imagine, the other telling you, and as you feel the wonders of it all, and as you rejoice in it, you are actually calling forth the God in him, because the boy is born to win, to succeed. Therefore imagine whatsoever things are true, lovely, noble, and godlike. Dwell on these things. For example, if you're married, imagine your husband is coming home telling you what you long to hear, that he's found a wonderful promotion, that he's been promoted, that he's found a wonderful job, as the case may be. He's telling you the things you want to hear, how wonderful the day was, and how wonderful you are, and how much he loves you. And then see the light in his eye, see the smile, hear the tonal qualities of his voice, and feel the divine embrace. Feel the naturalness, the tangibility, the wonders of it all. Make it real. For imagination is called the workshop of God. And I'd like to reiterate that imagination separates man from man. It is a beacon light in a world of darkness. Thomas means jointed or conjoined. In the undisciplined state, it represents the double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. Let not such a man ask anything of the Lord, for he is the double-minded man. He's like the surge of the sea, tossed to and fro, a double-minded man unstable in all his ways. Thomas represents the understanding faculty of man. Get wisdom, with all thy getting, get understanding. Wisdom is the awareness of the presence and power of God within you. Understanding is the application of this knowledge to solve our daily problems and grow spiritually. Our reason and intellectual perception of the truth becomes anointed by the Spirit of God, and we go from glory to glory. The man who disciplines this faculty called Thomas, which is within you, knows that his own consciousness or awareness or spirit within him, self-originating spirit, is the God of his world and the seat of causation. You know, in the Bible, Thomas touches the body, put your hands into my side. Who touched me? I feel virtue has gone out of me. So that means mentally and spiritually you touch this God presence within you, immediately the answer comes. Therefore, Thomas, that faculty within you, when it is disciplined, rejects all rumors, lies, and suggestions that are unlike God or the truth. He will contradict, reject, and refuse to accept any rumors or suggestions that oppose that which he knows to be true. For example, if there's an epidemic of the flu, or whatever it might be, he's unmoved, undisturbed. He realizes that there's only one presence and one power and one cause and one substance. So his prayer is, I am all health, God is my health. He builds up an immunity, or spiritual antibodies, and contra-convictions against everything that man believes, against all the opinions of the world. And he has just the one Lord and the one power and the one cause and the one substance. You send your children to some remote spot to escape the so-called flu or Asian flu or something else. If this is true about you, you're full of fear. Your faith is not in God or good, and you do not believe in the omnipresence of God. If you're calling Thomas to discipleship, you realize that you're always in your true place, that you're in the secret place of the Most High, that you abide in the shadow of the Almighty, that you'll say of the Lord, He's your refuge, your fortress, my God, in Him will you trust. You know that God is where you stand, that He walks and talks in you. You are the very garment which God wears as He moves through the illusion of time and space. Did you discipline Thomas when you touch reality, and you know that God is the only presence, power, cause, and substance? Therefore a plague could be sweeping the city, and you would be completely unmoved and undisturbed, because you realize you are sealed in God and nothing could touch you. And that would be a wonderful attitude of mind to develop. Matthew means the gift of Jehovah. It means your desire. And God speaks to man through the medium of desire. If, for example, you're sick, you desire health. If you're hungry, you want food. And if you're in prison, you want freedom. If you're thirsty, you want water. Realization of your desire, of course, would be your savior. It would be the solution to your problem. God speaks to you, therefore, through desire, and there is a desire in you as you listen to this. The Spirit within you, the life principle, saying to you, come on up higher, I have need of you. Therefore, if you're beginning to discipline Matthew, you will say, well, God gave me this desire. This desire is good and very good. And the same living Spirit Almighty which gave me this desire will reveal the perfect plan for its unfoldment in divine order through divine love. Therefore you will take this desire of yours and you'll animate it, sustain it, exalt it, lift it up in your mind, marshal all the reasons why you can accomplish, why you can achieve it. You don't discuss it with others. Go tell no man, show John. You don't discuss your prayer life, your dreams, your aspirations, your plans, your purposes with others. When you do, many times they throw cold water on them, and sometimes they tell you all the reasons why you can't achieve. So tell them nothing. Prayer is a silent communion, a dialogue with your higher self. It's a secret commitment whereby you dwell on the reality of your desire and you realize the power of the Almighty is moving in your behalf, and that the desire will come to pass in divine order through divine love, just the same as you put a seed in the ground. The seed undergoes dissolution, bequeathing its energy to another form of itself. Likewise, as you envelop your desire with faith and confidence, knowing there's an almighty power will bring it to pass, that desire will be deposited in your subconscious mind. It will die as a desire and come forth as the joy of the answered prayer. Do you say, I am too old, I lack the intelligence, it is too late now, I have no chance? Do you accept the verdict of the doctor or the mass mind belief? Or do you go within and say, like Mary of old, my soul doth magnify the Lord? You magnify the possibility of giving birth to your idea, dream, or aspiration. Go within in the silence and magnify the possibility of realizing that desire. Nourish it, sustain it, exalt it, love it, woo it, and gradually as you walk with it, realizing that the Almighty Power is backing you up, gradually, you're conditioning your mind and it will sink into your subconscious, where it will die. And when it dies, and then comes, as I said, the joy of the answered prayer. When you reject your desire, the gift of God, which would bless you in the world, you're not calling Matthew to discipleship. For the desire that you now have to be the great artist, the great singer, or the great pianist, as the case may be, well, you can rest assured that the desire that lingers is the true desire. And also, if you have an intense desire to sing or to play music or the piano, as the case may be, that means that the talent is there. When the talent is there, the way is there. You see, you can make a seed grow. The oak is already in the acorn, but you have to deposit it in the soil. And the archetype or the pattern is already there. So it dies in the soil, attracts everything it needs for its unfoldment. Likewise, you know when you've turned your request over to the deeper mind. Because when you've turned it over to your subconscious, full of wisdom and intelligence, it has the know-how of accomplishment, you're at peace. You're no longer anxious or worried. You're not saying how, when, and where, or how long, O Lord, how long. If you do, you're not disciplining Matthew. For Matthew trusts the God presence, like you delegate an assignment to an officer in the company. If you're a good executive, you do not meddle with the pie you ask the other man to make, do you? You trust the other man. You give him an assignment. He's capable. He's competent. Likewise, your subjective mind is coextensive with all wisdom and all intelligence, and whatever you impress on that subconscious mind, it will move heaven and earth to bring to pass, for all the wisdom of the infinite are within you. James the Less signifies the faculty of order, a tidy mind. Order is heaven's first law. When you are at peace in your mind, when you find peace in your home, in your business, and the rest of your affairs, then you're calling that faculty to discipleship. James the Less is also called discernment or discrimination. It is also means clairvoyance, clairaudience, perceiving the truth about anything. Quinby, the father of metaphysics in America, the greatest healer America's ever known, had this quality of discernment highly developed. He was able to diagnose and interpret all of the causes behind the ailments or maladies of his patients. His patients didn't have to tell him anything. He saw the cause of their sickness, whether it was consumption or cancer or tuberculosis or whatever it might be, or blindness or insanity. He told them where their pains and aches were and the mental patterns behind them. Over 60% of his patients were sick because of religious beliefs, a punitive God, the belief in a hell, damnation, and that they were sinners, and so on. We go to a doctor and we tell him all of our symptoms, their location, and so forth, but Quinby did the reverse. He told the patient the cause of his malady and where it was. They marveled at this great capacity. He simply tuned in on their subconscious minds and subjectively saw their mental patterns. His explanation was the cure. Quinby was clairvoyant. When this clairvoyant faculty is fully developed, one sees the divinity behind the form, the truth behind the mask. He contemplates reality and sees the presence of God everywhere. How did Quinby become clairvoyant? Well, by discarding all the theological beliefs that he was taught when he was young. He rejected all the opinions of men, and he recognized that there was only one presence and power within himself. And when he died to all the false beliefs of the world, he became clairvoyant. And the book to read is Psychic Perception, one of my recent books dealing with extrasensory perception. It tells you how to develop these faculties. Do you blame the government, external conditions, family, employers, or conditions for any problems or limitation you may be experiencing? It is easy to blame others. Are you capable of interpreting that which you see? Do you judge according to appearances? Objective appearance is not always true. Call James the Less to discipleship. Let your judgment be as the noonday. Noon casts no shadow. I stand on my shadow. Therefore nothing comes in my way to deflect me from judging righteously. No shadow must cross your path. The world of confusion shall be rejected. Your judgment shall be righteousness, which is wholeness and perfection, perfect God, perfect man, and perfect being. So your judgment is based upon what's true of God, just like an engineer. How does he base his judgment? On the laws of stress and strain, pressure, and the principle of mathematics. Therefore, he can tell you that a train weighing so many tons can pass over this particular bridge. It's all computed mathematically, all done scientifically. He's judging righteously according to universal principles and laws. Nothing will give you peace but the triumph of principles, and your mind is a principle. If you think good, good follows. If you think evil, evil follows. And therefore, if you want to develop the faculties of sight within you and hearing too, great numbers of people are clairaudience, some are clairvoyant, do it this way. Say to yourself, I see the truth, I love the truth, I know the truth, I rejoice in the truth. By day and by night, I am seeing more and more of God's truth, spiritually, mentally, materially, in every single way. And that spirit of truth leads me to all truth. Realize also that you're illumined from an eye. The Spirit of Almighty God moves in the waters of your mind. That all your faculties are illuminated from on high. That the light of God shines in all the dark places in your mind. For they that dwelt in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwelt in the valley of the shadow, upon them hath the light shined. So the wisdom of God anoints your intellect. It's a lamp unto your feet, it's a light upon your path. So you're seeing more and more of God's truth every moment of the day. You see the divinity behind the form and the truth behind the mask. And then you are disciplining James the Less. Intuitively you will perceive the great truths of God without any conscious process of reason. Thaddeus means of the heart, warm-hearted, and praise. Thaddeus represents the exalted mood, the happy, joyous state. I, if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. If you take that idea that you have and lift it up to the point of acceptance or conviction in your own mind, the manifestation will come to you. It will appear on the screen of space. For anything that you completely accept in your mind will come to pass. This is the attitude of the mind of the man who is disciplining Thaddeus. It means praise, exaltation. The Bible says, come into his presence singing, come into his courts with praise, be thankful unto him, and bless his name. It's a quality sadly lacking in the minds of millions of people. Do you praise your boy for a job well done? Do you praise your assistant or associate for some marvelous constructive work? Well, it'd be a wonderful thing to do. Do you praise the waitress for the excellent service she gave you? Yes, exalt God in the midst of the other person. If you have a little boy or little girl, yes, you can exalt God in the midst of the child. For example, you can say, the little girl may be at school, but you can say, the wisdom of God anoints my girl's mind. She's growing in grace and wisdom, truth, and beauty. The love of God wells up within her. The peace of God floods her mind. She's illumined from an eye. If you have a little boy, you can realize infinite intelligence is within him, guiding, directing him, revealing to him his hidden talents, showing him the way he should go. Realizing the love, the light, and the glory of the infinite animate and sustain him, and strengthen him. And that he is God's son, expressing more and more of God every day. All right. You're praising or exalting and lifting up the God in the boy. and he will become to you what you conceive him to be. He will fulfill your conviction of him. Never have I seen the righteous forsaken. The righteous are those who think right, feel right, act right, and who use the law in the right way. We lift others up by rejoicing that they're now possessing and expressing all that we long to see them express. You can praise the flowers in the flower pot that's known for hundreds and thousands of years, and they will grow luxuriously and beautifully. Ask the little geranium plant to bend over and kiss you, it will. It will grow towards you so that you may kiss it, just as a dog will jump on you, on your lap as you indicate you will pet and fondle him. Do we lift others up in consciousness and see them as they ought to be? Do you see men as beggars? If that is true, we have clothed them in rags. But the so-called beggar is a king walking the king's highway. Clothe him with the garment of salvation. Clothe him with the garment of righteousness. Realize the riches of God are flowing through him, but he's illumined from an eye. And if you have a good conviction, the beggar will be transformed. He will not be at the street corner tomorrow. This is an example of calling Thaddeus to discipleship. The ancients said that Thaddeus went forth the earth, his neck and head bathed with oil. Oil means illumination, inspiration, means the light of God. And it said that all those who touched him were made whole, that he went forth with the praise of God forever on his lips. Praise radiates and gives glory and beauty to the inner powers of man. Let us emulate Thaddeus and walk the earth with the praise of God forever on your lips. Then you're really calling Thaddeus to discipleship. It's likewise if you give thanks for the blessings you have now. Count your blessings, the wonderful home, the blessings of your husband, your wife, your children, your lovely home, your health, your eyesight. Some people can't see, some can't hear, you know. And you give thanks for all the wonderful blessings you have now, and exalt God in the midst of you, mighty to heal. Then you see your subconscious will magnify your good exceedingly, and wonders will happen in your life. Father, he said, I thank thee that thou hast hurt me, and I know that thou healest me always. And the ancient poet said, oh, God, give me one more thing, a grateful heart. So praise and gratitude are wonderful qualities. Another disciple is Simon of Canaan. Simon means hearing, hearkening. It means one who listens and obeys the voice of the one who forever is. Shemong is to hear. Canaan is the promised land. Well, the promised land is the realization of your heart's desires, the fruition of your ideas. When a scientist has an invention and comes forth and is objectified and made manifest, he has reached the promised land, hasn't he? When we discipline this faculty, we look for and expect spiritual guidance and illumination direct from the fountainhead of God. We become still and listen for the still small voice, the vibration or tone within us that wells up and says, this is the way, walk ye in. So Simon is the man, also with the pitcher of water. And you're told to follow the man with the pitcher of water. And he will lead you to an upper room where everything is prepared. Now, what is this upper room? This upper room, of course, is the presence of God in you, the living Spirit Almighty. It was never born, it will never die. Water wets it not, fire burns it not, wind blows it not away. Love was never born and never died. It never grows old. Grace never grows old. Joy never grows old. And beauty never grows old. Laughter never grows old. These are eternal qualities. Harmony always was, now is, and ever shall be. And these are qualities, attributes, and potencies of God. So the kingdom of heaven is at hand, and the works are finished from the foundation of time. And all things be ready if the mind be so. For the works are finished. You're dealing with the finished kingdom. No matter what you seek already is, because before you call I will answer. Therefore, no matter what the question is, The solution already is there. The answer is there, whether it's the scientist or the man lost in the woods, or it's the doctor seeking a solution. The answer is already there. That's why, therefore, it is an insult to the divinity within you to beg or beseech or supplicate. That's why you go boldly to the throne of grace. You claim your good, which was given to you from the foundation of time. So you go into that upper room and you realize harmony is. You don't say, it takes a long time to get a healing. You're saying God takes a long time to heal. You don't say, someday I'll be happy, or someday I'll have peace. The God of peace is within you. Tune in on the God of peace and let the river of peace flow through you now. You don't say, someday I'll have love. Well, the God of love is within you. Open your mind and heart and let God's love flow through you. And the answer is now. For God, your good, is the eternal now. Simon of Canaan may be summed up as receptivity to the inner voice of wisdom, truth, and beauty. This leads us to the land of Canaan, the promised land, the realization of harmony, health, and peace. We hear only the good news about ourselves and others. We expect the best, and invariably the best will come to you because you expect it. The man who disciplines this faculty of mind lives in a state of joyous expectancy. Invariably, ineluctably, the best comes to him. The word of God goes before such a man as a pillar of a cloud to lead them in the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and by night. Do you now gossip, dissect others, criticize them, and indulge in backbiting? These negative qualities prevent you from controlling and disciplining this important faculty of mind. Do you hear and feel only the best for others? If you can, turn not aside and faint not, and this presence and power will lead you to a land of plenty, flowing with the milk of life eternal and the honey of unblemished wisdom. And the pillar of cloud will lead you on the way, and by night in the pillar of fire. As the ancients, took a brazier, that's a metallic instrument where you put coke or coal in, and when they wandered away, the stragglers, they walked in the desert, some of them got lost, and therefore they would see the smoke during the day, and of course they would follow where the smoke was, and then at night the sparks would fly upwards, and even though they were lost, they would see the sparks and they would go where the sparks were. But also that has an inner meaning. The cloud by day, the cloud, becomes saturated and falls as rain, our rain blessings from heaven for you. It means walk in the consciousness of God's presence, the love of God surrounding you, and enfold and enwrap you. And divine love going before you, that's the pillar of cloud. Pillar is a fixed conviction of God's presence. And that leads you on the way. For divine love goes before you, making straight, joyous, and glorious your way. And the night, yes, you may be sound asleep upon the bed, but God makes himself known in a vision and will speak to a man in a dream. Judas means limitation, the sense of need, desire, or the irredeemed life force. It has nothing to do with a man. It's not a man at all. We're all born with Judas, because Judas means limitation. That's the only way you can develop and discover yourself. You must have problems, challenges, difficulties, otherwise you'll never discover your divinity. You're not born fully awed. God becomes man by his belief in being man. God limits himself by his belief in being man. Therefore you are God walking the earth. We're all born with Judas, meaning limitation. You have a body, you're limited, you're born into all that this mass mind represents. We're born into the world where we're conscious of boundaries, time, distance, and other limitations. You're aware of opposites, you're a sentient being, you have sensation, and there's night and day, ebb and flow, in and out, sweet and sour, there's comparisons, and so on. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God, and every precious stone was thy covering. We were all in a desireless state at one time. We were in the living Spirit Almighty. Now we're born into the three-dimensional world. We have desires. Our failure to realize our desire, cherished hopes and ideals, the cause of our frustration. Lack of understanding has caused men to lust, hate, and be greedy for other people's property, territory, possession, land. So it is said Judas carried the bag of money, sense of need or limitation. When we discipline this faculty, it is one of the greatest of all the disciples, for it reveals the God self, or the truth that sets us free. We are told Judas betrayed Jesus. This, of course, is a parable and allegory. Betray in the Bible means to reveal. So I must know your secret. And the secret is the presence of God in you, for betray means to reveal. Now, every problem reveals its own solution in the form of a desire. A boy of 8 years of age can see this. Judas is necessary for the drama. I have chosen 12, and one of you is a devil, meaning limitation. All right, you can't get rid of it because it's necessary for your unfoldment. But it's through our problems we discover the God presence within, which is our Savior. The joy is in overcoming the problems. When we accept our desire, then the realization of our desire is our Jesus, or the solution to our problem. Well, all that's symbolic. Judas dies or commits suicide, and the Savior, or answered prayer, is revealed or made manifest. We discipline Judas when we surrender ourselves to the influx of divine love and consecrate ourselves to the purity of purpose. When we realize our oneness with all mankind, when we die to all the false beliefs of the world, when we give up all this brainwashing and the false beliefs which were inculcated into our cranium, divine love overcomes all problems and transforms the sense man into the pure original state. Have we any religious, political prejudices now, or personal saviors, or things of that nature? Do you look down on others and say it's unfortunate that they're not Christians or something? If so, you're not disciplining this faculty. For God is no respecter of persons and knows nothing about Jews or Christians. In him there is no Jew, no Greek, no Hindu, or anything else. Only the ever-flowing reality, flowing on forever. Do you like to retain your prejudice? If this is true, you're not disciplining Judas, because Judas means attachment, which is the divine indifference. Indifference is the tie that severs. You detach yourself from all these beliefs, and you realize there's only one God, the Father of all. We're all God's children. Love is that which binds us to our good, which means that we take our attention away from that which we do not want and focus on the good that we do. When we die to all false beliefs, we're back again in the garden of God. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. When a man who is poverty-stricken dies to that false belief, and he becomes a multimillionaire, employing thousands, he has, Judas, committed suicide. He died to his false beliefs about God, and he resurrected a God of opulence. So in him there is neither Jew nor Greek, nor bond or free, neither male nor female. So as the sun moves through the zodiac in its cycle, in like manner, symbolically speaking, must the Spirit of God move through our 12 faculties, inspiring and breathing into them the light of the life of the one presence and the one power. As we discipline these faculties, we consciously become God's radiation, dissolving barriers between men. Realize, therefore, that you're here to glorify God and enjoy him forever. I have glorified thee on earth, I have finished the work which thou gavest me to do. Glorify thou me with thine own self, with the glory which I had with thee, right now.